What's up, everybody? It's Soren Baker here on Unique Access Entertainment. As always, please hit that subscribe button. It's right down there and it's free. That enables us to keep coming to y'all as often as possible with as many interviews as possible. So please hit that subscribe button, like our content, share, talk about it, be about it, each one, teach one. And we appreciate your support and getting us this far. Now, today we have the honor and privilege of being joined by the Chill. Thank you for coming through, sir.
All the time, Soren. You already know what to do, bro.
Yes. So the Chill, of course, is Compton's most wanted, but as people I hope and imagine also know, he's been establishing himself for several years now as an excellent producer. And one of his more recent things that he did was the Osiris project with MC Ren. So Chill, I remember way back in the days when you guys kind of shouted each other out on records and stuff way back in the day in the early 90s. So before we get to Osiris itself, how did you and Ren, back in the 80s, early 90s, develop your guys' relationship?
He had a girlfriend that stayed across the street from my mom, and he used to be over there 80% of the day he was there. You know what I mean? And they used to chill. You know what I mean? We was kids. You know what I mean? I think Ren probably was like 17. I was like 15 or something. And I used to sit on the porch and write these raps. He'd come across the street, let me hear something, or I'll be asking him about different stuff. I think this was around N.W.A and the Posse days. He'd come around there. They had just come from doing some show or touring or something, and I was just a curious kid. You know what I mean? Like, what y'all was doing? And who was there? Cube was there, and Arabian Prince, and, asking him all kind of crazy questions. And he like, let me hear that rap. I busted for me like, that's whack. But he always told me to keep writing. You know what I mean? And then I got a little dope enough for his ear. And he was like, man, I'm going to get down with you one day. You know what I mean? But he always took a good liking off into me for this, just a little homie, like a little protege, sort of say. You know what I mean?
Okay. And then as, Ren and N.W.A take off, Compton's Most Wanted take off in those early days, as you were getting an acclaim and then straight checking them, Boys in the Hood, all this stuff was going on. Were you guys able to stay in a lot of touch back then, or did you, like, how did that work? As you
I would see him periodically. You know what I mean? I think he had took us back in those days. He took me and ate around the Eric's house, Eazy-E. And I didn't know, that's when I learned that Eazy-E stayed that close to my mother. It probably was like 4 or 5 minutes away, in between me and 8. And he took us over there and the whole crew was there. Dre, Cube, Arabian, Speed. They all was over there. And we used to wear these T-shirts and jackets, with our group on it, CMW. Eric was like, CMW, what that mean? It's sort of like gang banging, but that's what West Coast hip hop is based off of, basically, territorial or your crew or your gang or whatever, you know what I mean? So he kind of banged on me, you know what I mean? Banged on me, you know what I mean? He was like, CMW, what's that? I'm like, Compton's Most Wanted. And I'm, like I said, I'm about 15, you know what I mean? He like N.W.A. I'm like CMW. He like niggas with attitude. You know what I mean? He like, at the end of the day, he was just messing with me. You know what I mean? But I stood my ground and he asked to hear our tape. And me and 8 had a little bump tape called Kicking Dust. And we played it. And he was like, I like that, man. But y'all sound like EPMD. Needless to say, that's what we used to listen to faithfully, as well as, Rakim, KRS-One. We was East Coast driven. And he was like, y'all need to go to the studio. We kids, we don't know where no studio at. He gave us the number to Lonzo. You know what I mean? So we went over to Lonzo's in Gardena. We met DJ Slip, and they was doing the Compton compilation and asked us to be a part, and the rest is history.
Yeah, that was a good launching pad for a lot of people. So that's amazing. So then over the years, different things are happening in your life, your career. Same with Ren. So how did Osiris end up happening?
If people pay attention to me and his career, we predominantly pop up on each other's project. The first real professional song that I produced for was Ren's. This song called Shot Caller on the Ruthless for Life album, the last album he did over at Ruthless after Eric's passing. And we toured together. I went on that tour with him, and we bonded a little bit more for this on a professional level versus just homies in the street. then I was working on my own solo projects, you know, fast forward some years. And, you know, I asked him like, hey man, you know, he was at my house one day, you know what I mean? And he was like, play me some beats. I played him some beats. This was for the Reincarnation album. And he was like, yeah, I want that one. And I was playing some beats for the California project. And he was like, man, I want to bust to that. And I'm like, yeah. He like, yeah, I'm gonna get on that with you. So I gave him the beat, he wrote it, came back and did it. That was Have My Money Right, Had That Money Right on my project. So, you know, we just periodically just got it in with each other over the years. You know what I mean? I think the last thing before Osiris we did was on my Forehead project. And that was a straight up accident. It was right when the pandemic started. I was wrapping up the Forehead project. And I just wanted him to do an intro for that song. I just wanted him to talk on it. I was gonna do all the rapping. And when he sent the vocals back, it was a verse. You know what I mean? So I'm like, I called him like, you did a verse? He like, yeah, you like it? I'm like, do I like it? This is going on, you know what I mean? So, you know, it was time to do the video and everything, but of course we had to be social distanced and all that. And Ren, he ain't no thrill seeker like me. So that's why I did the video and he's on the album. You know what I mean? He didn't want to come outside for that. And I give him his kudos for that too, because I was still wilding. You know what I mean? I wasn't wilding, but me and my boy, shout out to Ray, Westlife, you know what I mean, shoot all my videos. We went and did a social distance video. That's Lost, the video that y'all seen from the Forehead project. And shout out to MC Ren for lacing that verse. We just couldn't make it all the way out to him to do the video, but he is on that song. You know, like I say, he just hit me periodically. You know, Ren be kind of off and on. Like sometimes he feel like he want to bust. Sometimes he like, man, I'm cool. I'm a Hall of Famer. I ain't got nothing to prove. You know what I mean? But for the love of it, you know, he comes back off the porch sometime. And that's how the Osiris project came apart.
Okay. Because, yeah, I've known Ren along since the 90s. Not obviously not as long or as well as you, but I've known Ren personally since the 90s. So when he was telling me about it and then when it started getting promoted, I was excited to see it. And I really was pleasantly surprised that it actually came out, because I know when last time I'd been to Ren's house, he had told me he had all this music and stuff, but he had to go before he played me a lot of it. And I talked to him periodically. But the thing is, like, the songs that I liked were really, or that I liked the most, I'd say, are on the second half, like The Time and The News and stuff like that. So with The News in particular, that one is talking about how like tough LA is and the news snippets, and it kind of gives you that feel of back in the day where stuff, I think, incorporated a lot more than just the music itself. It had the news, it had sound bites. So on a production side and working with Ren, how and why did you guys decide on the news to make that song that way?
I think, you know, with respect to our brotherhood and our friendship and just, you know, our artistry, you know what I mean? Me as a producer and him as an MC, I had to tap into what Ren sounds good on. And not only that, what type of stuff can he handle? And how can I make his fans and gain new fans and they understand it? So I definitely didn't want to go, you know, all the way left with how music is transitioned with him. I wanted to give people that N.W.A. MC Ren feel with the scratching and the cutting and the news broadcasting and stuff like that, as well as make it sound fresh so people, you know, can adapt to it. You know what I mean? So, you know, I did the beat and, you know, without a clue what he was going to call it. And I sent it to him. And, you know, he was like, this is going to be called The News. I'm going to be talking about all the current stuff that's going on. You know what I mean? It's, you know, it's a lot of records going on in the streets right now, Soren. So, you know, he wanted to capitalize off that. Of course, we ain't them dudes talking about drive-bys and drinking 40s and calling women bitches and shit like that no more. What's gangster is taking care of your family and, you know, being able to pay your bills and making sure you got a roof over everybody's head and you're stable. But that's gangster for cats like us. So the news came from that type of energy. Like, how can we still keep it gangster, but make it to where these new people that's off in the MC Ren and Chill understand where we coming from. It's kind of infusion. I call it infused music. You know what I mean? So that's basically where it came from. I did the beat, shot it. I had the sound bites on there. shot it to him, and he like, oh, this is the news. And then he shot me the vocals back, and I went in. Now we in the same lane. You know what I mean? Now we know what we doing. I kind of painted that picture out for him with the art that he gave me.
Okay. And then with Time, I also like that one because it's reflective, and both the news and Time are story driven type of songs.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to get from you, Ren. I always thought has been a great storyteller from the first time I ever heard him, and he did that a lot, of course, with N.W.A, but then throughout his solo career. So, what do you think Ren does particularly well as far as storytelling?
I think he's an excellent West Coast storyteller. You know what I mean? Shout out to, people like my partner, Rob, MC8, or if we're going to take it to the East Coast, the greatest storyteller known in hip hop, Slick Rick. You know what I mean? It's people, that's out here that tell great stories. And you got to think, back in them days, we didn't have YouTube and all of these different things on the internet to use to actually show people what we're talking about. So we did it on records. Ren is one of those guys, you know what I mean? When you think of Shock of the Hour, or, the song he got with 8Ball and MJG, I forgot what it was called, Who in or something. He's just one of those guys, you know what I mean, that's going to be a street poet and a street reporter, you know what I mean, for just telling you about current events or different things to put stuff on people's minds, because the way music is these days, Soren, it's just turn up, you know what I mean? It's just all have fun, let's drink, party, all of that type of stuff. You got to break the monotony, but still be able to reach the masses and, make it interesting for them to understand and hear and enjoy. So I think songs like The News and Time is definitely those. I definitely was trying to attack that, you know what I mean? And I think we did. I'm glad Ren trusted me with that.
Yeah. And I think another one of Ren's unappreciated talents he shows on Keep It Gangster is his humor with the throw your demo out the digital window. Like that was one of the funniest things he said on there. So, I mean, Ren, but when you hear him say something that's actually funny, like how does that affect you as a person, as a producer, as a fan?
I just laugh because that's been Ren since day one. You know what I mean? He's always throwing somebody's demo out the window. You know what I mean? And when he said that, I said, okay, we ain't throwing a tape out the window. We throwing a digital download out the window now, right? You know what I'm saying? And we kind of chuckled. You know what I mean? I think that was one of the last songs we worked on the EP. It was a beat I did. Me and one of my partners, my guitar player, we were sitting up kind of strumming and just, rocking out for a minute. And I said, you know what? I'm going to send this to Ren, see if he rocking with it. And Ren instantly sent me the vocals back and was like, yo, that's Keep It Gangster. You know what I mean? So I put the intro on there and the outro, put the cut, and me and Corrupt was in the studio clowning. Corrupt, he's the type, as soon as he hears something, he like, oh, let me get on there. I'm like, man, Ren don't want you all over his project. You know what I'm saying? He's like, what? I'm finna get on shit. You know what I mean? So, Ren, he appreciate the fact that, my crew around me, you know what I'm saying, wanted to be a part, you know what I mean, with what he got going on, what me and him got going on. So, that's how Keep It Gangster came in. We just had fun doing it, man. You know what I'm saying? Even from afar. You know what I mean? Because the whole project was recorded with me sending him the tracks and him doing the vocals, with his son. Shout out to his son, you know what I mean, for holding me down. You know what I mean? Recording him and sending me back the vocals correctly so I can do what I got to do to him.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the crew, you also got the First Generation project that came out in 2022 as well. And that one, before we get to the music itself, I was intrigued that you guys put it out in conjunction with Fat Beats, since they're known as such a New York independent label. So what made them the right partner for you guys on the business side?
Shout out to Corrupt and his team, the Pentagon Squad. They brought that to the table. Me, I rock with Ghazi and Empire, as well as Sonny and CMD Shift. And Corrupt was like, yeah, I want to do a project and I want to rock with Fat Beats on it. And he said, you remember Fat Beats? I said, yeah, they used to have a record store in the Bronx or something, in New York or somewhere back in the days. He said, well, they do the digital thing too. I have my own company, Boondocks, and he has his company, Pentagon. For those that don't know, First Generation is a project that we was working on in 2010. We just couldn't get it together for the staying out of jail and staying out of trouble and being all together. So we were sitting at my studio And me and Corrupt, we was just vibing, and I said, look what I got. And I pulled up the files, and we just kind of vibing off the old stuff we did. And he had a epiphany, you know what I mean? And he said, man, let's put this out. I said, I don't want to put the whole album out. I said, let's give him an EP if that's what we're going to do. I said, let's rack up the boys and see what they want to do. So I called A, and he called J.O, and, we called King T and, Gangster, you know what I'm saying? We like, you know what? It's time to drop this because a lot of people didn't hear it, but a lot of people always ask about it. So, we got together and it was like old times where everybody flew out to Vegas and we did the Rapture video. And man, we had a grand time out there, man. The sun was out, it was vibing. A lot of people showed up to see the generation. And J.O was there and I didn't even know that was J.O. You know what I mean? For the people that see the video, I thought J.O hadn't got there yet. You know what I mean? And when his part came up, I'm like, damn, that's J.O right there. You know what I mean? So I hadn't seen J.O in a minute. You know what I mean? That was my first time laying eyes on him at the Rapture video. So hooking up with Fat Beats, that was definitely Corrupt and Pentagon. That was their side of the game.
In the beginning, hip-hop was ruled by the East Coast. Then the West Coast rose to prominence thanks to gangster rap.
Straight out of Compton, crazy motherfucker named Ice Cube.
Hip-hop changed the world. Gangster rap changed the narrative.
I'm representing for the gangsters all across the world.
And then changed the world again.
Cause I'll come and take your life away.
The history of gangster rap features unheard stories, unseen photos and documents, all with exclusive interviews from the founders and players who shaped gangster rap.
I think a real gangster rapper has to scare you a little bit.
The history of gangster rap written by veteran rap journalist Soren Baker. In stores now.
Yo, what up? This is DJ Quick. Be sure to pick up my homeboy Soren Baker's book, The History of Gangster Rap, if you really want to know what we do.